What's going on, DJ Nation? Back with another video. About to hop into a BBM4 draft. This is going to be draft number 63 of the offseason for me. Waiting on one person here for it to fill. And just taking a look at my exposures. You kind of get locked in sometimes to taking the same guys over and over, especially if you see them at a value. And that's what's happened to me a bit. Let's see where I'm picking out of the 8 hole. So I just haven't had almost any picks in the 4 through 7 range recently. I've had a couple ones and twos. I would say 3 through 7. I haven't had a 3 through 7 in quite some time. I don't like this middle range here. As I said in a couple previous videos, I prefer to be in the top two, top three, and if not, I would prefer the back to back. So few badges in here, a couple of red badges, a couple black badges. The reason I say that is because when you're in a certain pocket of the draft, I'm missing out all the time on the Tyreek Hills of the world. I do have some Cooper Cup, but I don't have a ton of McCaffrey, don't have a ton of Tyreek Hill. So I wanted to smooth out my exposures to them. And also, when you come back around, I've been missing out on guys like Ramondre, Brees Hall. Don't have a ton of Saquon, which I think Saquon's somebody I've been passing up. I have had a chance to get him. So I've been passing over him for the receivers in that range. So that's, I guess, more of a personal preference than the draft not lining up for me properly. But as you see, Justin Jefferson goes first, and then Tyreek Hill goes second. So a lot of people, I think, are feeling the fact that they're not getting a lot of Tyreek Hill unless they take him there. Personally, I would take Chase 9 out of 10 times over somebody like Tyreek Hill. But it's not crazy. If you're just looking at the pure stats from last year, Chase missed a bunch of games. So if you look at their total season points, they're pretty close. I think Tyreek Hill put up like almost 290 points, and Chase was in like the 260 range, but that was with multiple missed games. So, not taking Chase over Tyreek Hill very often unless I was trying to get somewhat of a unique build. So this is why the 8th pick is so frustrating, because I think there is a little bit of a tier break from Diggs to AJ Brown, just because of the quarterback being, they're both rushing quarterbacks. I'm going to take AJ Brown here either way, but they're both rushing quarterbacks, but I feel like Diggs is such a massive part of their offense, whereas with Philadelphia, they can spread the ball around. You get Devonta. I don't think the Bills have a number two that comes remotely close to being as skilled or as involved as Devonta Smith. Certainly Gabe Davis showed that last year, even after being steamed up all offseason. He's not quite ready to take on that wide receiver 2 role. He's more of a guy who can get wide open if he's the wide receiver 3 and defenses aren't game planning for him, but they were game planning for him last year and they took him out of the equation for the most part. Didn't have a bad season, but it wasn't the explosive season we thought. So I just think Diggs separates himself from AJ Brown in that regard. He's a target monster, and he just has that elite wide receiver 1 upside, whereas AJ Brown can be a wide receiver 1, but it's more towards the low end wide receiver 1. So, and I've been debating back and forth about CeeDee Lamb or AJ Brown, kind of mixing and matching both of those guys, getting some Lamb, getting some AJ Brown. They're very close. But I would probably lean CeeDee Lamb, but I've been taking more of him recently, so I kind of want to smooth it out a bit. Could have also gone Eckler there. I think Eckler is vastly underrated at the 10 pick, but found myself recently getting buried by some wide receiver avalanches by not taking receivers in the first 2 rounds. So after I go AJ Brown at 8, we got Jalen Waddle off the board at 9, which is very surprising. You almost always see him go in the second round. This team out of the 9 hole, probably trying to get a little unique, but Uh, you could get Waddle there at the where he's picking at 16 most of the time. So we get Eckler at 10, Garrett Wilson at 11, and then on the wraparound, Bijan Robinson 12, CeeDee Lamb 13, St. Brown, Devontae Adams, Olave, and I am on the clock. I'm going to just grab Devonta, hoping that I can grab Jalen Hurts on the swing back around. He has been falling at times where the two Philadelphia Eagles receivers are off the board. I don't believe I have this stack yet in Best Ball Mania with the two Eagles receivers. I've seen some people get it. I've seen some people uh, take AJ Brown 1 overall, and then on the swing back around the 24-25 back-to-back picks, take Hurts and Devonta. So but you have to be extremely lucky because you see Devonta Smith's ADP is 20.8. So he doesn't often make it. And Hurts also his ADP is 24.6. So sometimes he'll get taken at 21, 22, 23. So seen it, a couple times, but it's an unlikely combination, just the way the ADPs line up. So after I go Devonta Smith, we see Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor. It doesn't feel great to click Devonta Smith over Jonathan Taylor, just knowing the upside that he has. 350 points 2 seasons ago. So, Devonta Smith is not going to approach that in terms of points, and wide receivers don't. It's more of, you're comparing positions. It's like if Taylor couldn't put up 300, but a few other guys put up 290, 280, somebody I can get in the third round, then it balances itself out. And that's what I'm hoping. I don't have a ton of Ramondre. I've been dying for him to fall. So Jalen Hurts goes there at 21. So that dream is dead. I've gotten him at 33 once before with an AJ Brown stack. So didn't think it was out of the realm of possibilities, but people starting to a lot of these running backs were falling to the third. I've seen Derrick Henry fall to the third a lot, Pollard, but there's been a run recently in the drafts that I've been in on running backs. They've been getting hammered in this range between 18 to 35. Seeing a ton of running backs come off the board. So that's something I'm going to take into consideration going forward, but also totally fine going against the grain if everybody's taking running backs and just grabbing receiver, and grabbing some 0 RB running backs later in like the 8th, 9th, 10th round. So totally cool with that as well. So you see Ramondre go off the board there at 24. See what the team at the 1 spot does here. They go Jacobs. So they start off with the anchor and Justin Jefferson, and they go running back. Like those running backs for sure. If you can then on the way back around, just your next few picks, hammer wide receivers to pair up with Jefferson. I like that start. We see T. Higgins at 26. I was actually considering Higgins at 17. But since I had AJ Brown, I was fine going Devonta. But if I didn't have Devonta, if he had gotten taken maybe where Olave did at 16, I would have just gone Jonathan Taylor. So DK Metcalf 27, Breece Hall 28. Let's see what this team does, who already has CMC and Barkley. The team picking out of the 5 spot, the 4 or 5 spot there, whoever gets McCaffrey, I've been seeing them a lot lately going with the second running back, either Jonathan Taylor if he falls, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry. So they're trying to really get that monstrous RB start with 2 studs at the running back position. And if it pays off and they stay healthy, it could be a viable strategy, but it's not really what the numbers say works. So we are on the clock. that top three elite quarterbacks, they're all gone. I'm gonna go Debo Samuel. I'm gonna the thought was maybe grab Andrews and see if Lamar swings back to me, but I have not been seeing him fall into the 40s in quite some time now. It seems like it doesn't matter if Andrews goes, there's always somebody there willing to take Lamar, and we'll see it here. We'll see it play out. If that's the case. So the team after me goes Mark Andrews at 33. And I love Mark Andrews. I was getting him a lot in the fourth, sometimes the fifth in the big board, which is crazy. And that was due to the uncertainty of Lamar, but I just had no doubt that Lamar was going to resign. It's just the Ravens and Lamar Jackson are intertwined at this point. It's the way things are set up. And you see it right there. You see it play out exactly how I just said. Andrews goes 33 and the team after goes Lamar. Then people are not caring that Andrews goes off the board. They're fine taking Lamar. So that was why I did that. In a vacuum, I would rather have Debo than Mark Andrews. But if I knew I could get Mark Andrews and Lamar, I'd rather have that combination. So the only way you're getting Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews, it seems like now, is if you're taking them at the turn. Like if you were picking out of the one slot and you went 24, 25, Andrews, Lamar, or one of these top three, top four slots. If you took Andrews here, Lamar here, 22, 27, let's say something like that, because yes, it's a reach. It's certainly a reach on Andrews, but it's getting more and more difficult to get that combo. So after I go Debo, we see Mark Andrews, Lamar Jackson, 34. Mari Cooper, 35. The team at the 12th spot at the turn goes DeAndre Hopkins, Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, 38. We are 2 picks away. Looks like this team could possibly be auto drafting here out of the 10 hole. They go Najee. We are on deck. Let's see what's available to us. Hawkinson at tight end. Don't love these 3 receivers at the top. I do like Drake London. Some DJ Moore a little later, I'm comfortable with. I feel good about my 3 receivers. I don't have much Gibbs lately. I've been passing him over. And I feel good about him as my RB1. Not a lot of people are going to pass over ETN for him, but I've gotten a fair share of ETN. I think the fact that they brought in Tank Bigsby doesn't scare me, but it just proves that ETN's not really the 3-down workhorse type of back. I mean, Gibbs isn't either, but just the way that they were, the amount of excitement and the draft capital that they put into him, you just know that Dan Campbell is going to do everything in his power to get Gibbs the ball as much as possible. So I love him there in the 4th. I think he's good value if you're going to miss out on those are elite running backs in the first 3 rounds. Definitely fine with taking him there. And let's take a look at the board. I don't have much Gibbs either, so I know the Eagles play the Cardinals week 17, and then Detroit plays Dallas on the Saturday night, week 17. So multiple options here. It's tough to want to stack that Cardinals Eagles game without Jalen Hurts. But definitely still a possibility. Like I could always grab Goddard if he I could grab Goddard in the 6th, maybe wait to see if he falls to the 7th. He normally doesn't, but actually let me check his ADP because okay, so his ADP is at 71. So he's I feel like he's his ADP has dipped maybe a bit. Yeah, so he's going at the end of the sixth. So he has slipped into the seventh round, but I don't know if he's gonna slip all the way to 80, but that's an option. I'm just gonna leave my options open right now. I'm not gonna zone in on anything. I'll see I'm gonna take best available here at the next pick around and kind of go from there with building in my correlations. So I went Gibbs at 41. We see Jerry Jeudy come off the board at 42. Mike Williams, 43. Drake London, 44. Terry McLaurin, 45. Joe Burrow goes to the team picking out of the 3-hole, and he does have Jamar Chase. So that's a really nice start for that team. They get Chase, Pollard, Metcalf, Burrow in the 4th, and followed up with Kenneth Walker in the 5th, who, as scary as it is that they took Charbonnet, is great value there in the 5th. ETN, DJ Moore, Justin Fields to the team out of the 1 spot at the wraparound. So they get a nice stack there with Moore and Fields. Fields at 49, great value. Ayuk, Walker, Christian Kirk, Chris Godwin, Joe Mixon, 54, and I am on deck. Team picking out of the 7th hole. Let's see what they do. I think they might be auto drafting. They take Michael Pittman. So we get Hawkinson here. 6 picks after ADP. Dobbins is there as my second running back. Love Herbert, but don't have any of his pieces. I'm going to go Hawkinson. It's between Hawkinson and Dobbins. I like JSN, but I think his price is a little too high. I've gotten a lot of them, but I think there's going to be weeks where he spikes, but there's going to be weeks where he's not involved. I think with 2 good veteran wide receivers there, I don't think he immediately catapults either of them. That could happen maybe in the second half of the season if Lockett, if the age starts to catch up to him, or JSN really finds his stride, but I don't see that happening right away. And I think there's going to be some weeks where they're really battling each other for targets. So I do like JSN. I have some JSN, but I think Hawkinson gives my team more balance right there. Get that elite tight end, and don't have a ton of Hawkinson either. So I can grab one of these running backs on the way back around. I could grab Swift. He correlates. Could still grab Goddard and then just be done at tight end. So a lot of options here. Let's look at the board. So I took Hawkinson at 56, 57, J.K. Dobbins, 58, Justin Herbert, 59, Miles Sanders. So interesting here, the team picking out of the 10 spot. They do have Austin Eckler, but they grabbed Lamar with the 34th pick. So they have 2 elite quarterbacks already, just 1 receiver. So they're going to be doing some catching up at receiver. The team at the turn goes, wow. Dalvin Cook, 60, but then Gabe Davis, 61. Wow, let's take a look at that real quick. Yeah, Gabe Davis with an ADP of 78. Not really sure why he did that there. Doesn't have Josh Allen. Yeah, that doesn't have Dave. I don't know. That was just an odd pick there. Maybe he's just a big time Gabe Davis believer, but could have got him in the next round. So George Kittle goes, and I am on deck again. I mean, if JSN's still here, it's a no-brainer, I think. Wow. So he goes Deontay Johnson. That makes me feel great about not going JSN with the last pick. I could continue to try and build out this Eagles stack, but I think taking Goddard over Pitts is a mistake, honestly. I'm gonna go JSN. I feel great about that as my fourth receiver. You get guys with these massive second half upsides like Gibbs and JSN. Those are the best ball guys you want. Because if something does happen to Lockett or Metcalf, all of a sudden JSN's catapulted into the wide receiver 2 role. And he could just be flat out good on his own with the two of them there. It's not out of the realm of possibilities that they've never really used the slot because they haven't had a good slot. So maybe that just brings an entirely new element to their offense. You can't double any one guy, so it is possible that JSN can feast over the middle in that offense, especially like their tight ends aren't great either. Their tight ends are situational, goal line, more run blockers. So I'm cool making that bet with the potential upside for the second half of the season. And I'm going to keep my fingers crossed here. Either Swift or Goddard makes it back to me. Not likely. Goddard goes right there. So could have built that out. I think Goddard honestly is overrated. I hate that once they're drafted, you can't look at their points, but he puts up like in that, he's very steady but he's around 700 or 800 yards, like 4 or 5 touchdowns. He's done that every single year. I know he was playing alongside Zach Ertz for a pretty good portion of his early part of his career, but he's a third option in a run heavy team. He doesn't move the needle for me the way some of these other tight ends do. I'd much rather take the upside of Pitts, who is right now falling into the 70s, which would be a steal for anybody. So I'm really looking at Swift here. Let's look at the board, see what's going on. So I have a ways away. 7 picks before I pick again. So not likely. I wouldn't say not likely, but that's the thing though. These teams that went running back early are trying to snag their receivers here. It would be after ADP. It's possible Swift makes it, but it would be after ADP. So little breakdown of the last few picks. I went 65, JSN at 65 overall. After that, we see Marquise Brown, Kadarius Toney, Tyler Lockett, Dallas Goedert, Alexander Madison, George Pickens, and at the turn, 72, 73 overall, Mike Evans, Brandon Cooks, Pacheco 74, Pitts 75 to the team picking out of the 3-hole. So tremendous value there on Kyle Pitts. I really love this team out of the 3-hole. I liked what they did with their first 4 picks, getting Joe Burrow at 46. You see a lot of people will just snatch Burrow, even if they don't have any of the Cincinnati pieces. You see it all the time. So for them to get him to be able to pair with Chase, great. Walker in the 5th is a good value. Madison steamed up a bit. So, that could be a hit or miss kind of a pick. He does have the opportunity, but I don't think it's a shoe-in that he's automatically putting up Dalvin Cook type numbers. But we'll see. We'll see. Worth a shot there in the 70th overall pick. And then Pitts at 75, I think, is a really nice value. So we see Damian Pierce, Trevor Lawrence, Treylon Burks, 78. And the team out of the 9-hole is picking 7th hole, excuse me. Let's see what they do if they don't take Swift. And they take Swift, of course, to snipe me. Yeah, that's annoying. It's the name of the game, though. That's absolutely the name of the game. So I'm going to pivot here. I'm going to take Jordan Addison, and I'm going to set myself up to grab Kirk Cousins later. And you also, I have Gibbs. I can grab a few Detroit Lions. I could grab Goff and have a little division stack with Detroit, Minnesota. I haven't really thought too much about week 17. So if I'm building out a Minnesota stack, Minnesota has the Packers. So possible I could grab Jordan Love too and just grab like a Romeo Doubs, AJ Dillon. So that's still on the table. Cam Akers there was another possibility. I like him for where he's going, but I'm going to try and grab David Montgomery here on my way back around if he can make it to me and just make that full bet on the Detroit offense. You don't love going two running backs on the same team a lot of the time. You see scenarios where it can work, like Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. If you had them a couple years ago, that was fine. There's multiple scenarios where that can work. It's not common, but I'm locking myself in there for every running back touch in the Detroit offense. I feel great about that with the offensive line they have. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope David Montgomery can make it back to me here at 89. But times where you say that are the times where that player gets snatched from you. I haven't seen a lot of teams with Montgomery and Gibbs. So maybe that'll give me a chance to get a little unique. He is the fourth player right now on the overall ADP list. So looks like this team could be auto drafting. They already have 3 running backs. They still go running back. So Connor and Montgomery, 2 names at the top of the list as far as running back goes. If he snags Montgomery, too early to take Kirk. If he snags Montgomery, I'm going to be pissed. But he doesn't. He goes Bateman. So I will go Montgomery right around ADP. And let's see where our next pick falls. Next pick is 104. Kirk Cousins ADP is 108. So if he can fall a few picks past ADP, I'm cool taking him there as my QB1. I can then grab Goff as my QB2. Grab Sam Laporta later on, so I have one of the Detroit pass catchers. Is Jameson Williams still there? Yeah, he is. But he won't be there when I pick again. Almost certainly. His ADP is 97. My next pick's 104, so not banking on him being there, even though I'd like that. I built out a couple late Lion stacks where I got Jameson and really like the way the teams turned out. And I think Sam Laporta with Jameson Williams being out will have a big role right out of the gate. There's always the debate about rookie tight ends. Are they capable of producing right away? And historical data says no, but you've seen some recent examples. Like I feel like I took a lot of Freiermuth the year he was a rookie, and he played really well. Caught some touchdowns, and in this new modern NFL, I think it's not as crazy to see a rookie tight end come in and make an impact. Jameson Williams can make it to me here, I would be ecstatic about this team. I already love my wide receiver room. If I grabbed him, I could even stop at 6. Little risky just because he is missing 6 games. So then you think you only have 5 guys for the first 6 weeks if one of them goes down. But I mean, that's a strong wide receiver room, and you have no bye weeks for those first 6 weeks, so it's not something you have to worry about. And injuries happen, so nothing you can predict. That's frustrating though. AJ Dillon goes right there. Let's take a look back at the board. Sorry. I went Montgomery 89. You see James Cook 90, Zay Flowers, Evan Ingram, James Conner, Cortland Sutton, Javonte Williams, Alan Lazard, AJ Dillon. So AJ Dillon was somebody I was going to be looking at as well. So if AJ Dillon and Jamison Williams go, it's going to be pretty disappointing. Just going to try and build in that Vikings Packers stack, but that's okay. Can always grab a couple of the Cowboys and build in a week 17 with the Cowboys and the Lions. Anthony Richardson goes 101. I got Anthony Richardson yesterday at 116 overall. So he has been falling significantly. His ADP was in the 80s. You started to see him slip a bit into the 90s, and now he's free falling in a lot of these drafts to the 10th round. Great value there for somebody who could have, it's in his realm of possibilities to have 1,000-yard rushing season. So Jamison Williams is at the top of the board, and he goes. So this dude sniped me hard twice. Took DeAndre Swift, took Jamison Williams. That hurts. Yeah. God damn it. So I'll go Dak. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna go Cousins. And I will see, just because I don't have any Cowboy. I was gonna try and build in that week 17, Dallas, Detroit, maybe grab Gallup later. But I'll grab Cousins just because I have two of his pass catches already. And if Dak makes it back to me on the wrap back around, I feel good about that. And if not, I can always just grab Jared Goff with Gibbs, Montgomery, and try and mix in a few week 17 correlations. But there's times where you're not going to be able to completely correlate your team for week 17. You want stacks, but if you don't have a week 17 matchup where you have a bunch of pieces of both teams, I think that's fine too. There's going to be some scenarios where, like, for example, my BBM3 final team, I had a bunch of the Detroit Lions. I had Swift, Jamal Williams, Jared Goff, DJ Shark, and I didn't have Amon-Ra St. Brown. And he didn't go crazy. He had a good game. I think he scored a touchdown, but he didn't go off completely. But they were playing the Bears, and the Bears, it was like 40-0 at one point, or it was like 40-7. The Bears were just getting completely blown out. So it wasn't this back and forth. It was the Lions doing a lot of their damage. The Bears turning the ball over, and the Lions were in the red zone constantly. So there's going to be a scenario like that too, where a team just is putting up points. So you don't necessarily need the other team there to put up points and have this crazy shootout. Would you like it to be like that, the way the Bucks game was? Yeah, you would. The Bucks week 17, where Mike Evans went crazy and Brady, and you would like it to be a game like that where it's just a wild shootout. But I think if you don't get two pieces and you just are stacking one offense, I think that's fine too. Let's see. So I am without a doubt thin at running back, and I'm going to try and push it here. I do want Goff. He's pretty high now up on the list, but I'm going to continue to build out that Philly stack, and I don't have much Rashad Penny. So I will go Rashad Penny here. And I could also grab Gainwell in the last round since I missed out on Swift. Continue to make that bet on Philly. Could grab a couple Cardinals later to build in the week 17 Philly Arizona stack. So I like that pick right there. It's not often you build out an anchor RB team with your first RB coming in the fourth round, but Honestly, I think Gibbs is a little underrated. I think he should be going in the 30s up there with the. Let's take a look at the board and see where where I would place him. Yeah, I'd be fine with him here after Brees Hall. I think he should be going right in this range right here, right with ETN. And ETN, he falls to 47. I think that's great value for him too. I think he's right in that Travis Etienne, Brees Hall kind of a tier. And you could even say Walker. I think Walker's gotten pushed down because of Charbonnet, and rightfully so. But I think those guys are all in that range. ETN, Walker, Gibbs. I think that's their own little tier there after the Brees Hall kind of break off. So be fine with taking Gibbs in the 30s, and I think he's good value in the fourth. So Jared Goff is at the top of the board. And this team that has sniped me twice is picking before me. So they just grabbed Jamison Williams. Is it out of the realm of possibility that they snipe me again and grab Goff? I doubt it. I don't think so. But since I've made this bet on the Eagles, I have 3 Eagles. I could also just grab Kyler and hope that everything goes good with him and that he's healthy and playing in week 17, and that maybe that Eagles Cardinals game could be a bit of a shootout. I can grab some of his pieces later. So you're building in multiple stacks, but there's so many ways where you can build in a week 17 stack, week 17 correlation, find a game where, two good. Well, we don't know how good the Cardinals offense is going to be. From what it looks on paper, it won't be the greatest, but um, if they're bad defensively and Kyler Murray gets healthy towards the end of the season, it could be a shootout type of a game. So cool with that scenario as well. I might take 3 quarterbacks on this build. I don't often do it, and I think Kirk and Goff would be good enough to stick at 2, but Murray's always dipping there into that sweet spot for me in the 160s overall. I think he's a tremendous value. So don't love any other running backs in this range. I like Elijah Mitchell, but there's some camp reports, and you know how Shanahan is with running backs. So there's some camp reports that Tyrion Davis Price is doing well, and everybody behind McCaffrey could be in some sort of a committee, and it's always a muddled situation. So he goes Elijah Mitchell. I'm gonna grab Goff. That makes me feel really good, really balanced there. I get him at ADP. Ties in with Gibbs, Montgomery, and I have Laporta queued up and grab him in a couple rounds. Russ goes off the board, so these QB needy teams, I could see Kyle getting snatched. If he does, that's fine. I'm fine staying at 2. I love my receivers. Grab the elite tight end in Hawkinson. So what we really have to worry about is our running backs, because the running back room is very thin right now, and we get 2 on the same team with the same bye week. So we're gonna have to hammer running backs. Queue up Gainwell as well. I definitely want to get Gainwell at some point later on. Just making the bet that Swift is a guy who's always hurt. Rashad Penny is a guy who was always hurt. And I think Gainwell is just hungry for that opportunity. Can he be a workhorse type back? No, but you don't need to be in that Philly offense. Like they move the ball so efficiently. 10 carries in a Philly offense is like 15 to 20 in some other offenses. So you get those high value touches. Gainwell has proven that he's efficient with the touches that he gets. I like the way he runs. He runs hard for a guy who's a little bit smaller. So got my eyes on Gainwell for sure. Let's take a look at this board. I'm gonna need a second tight end. So I'm looking at Laporta for that. So I'll hold off on that. Gallup would correlate with the Detroit. He gets taken. Kendre Miller goes off the board. So looking for a running back with upside. I think out of these three, I think Roshan Johnson has the best chance to come in and make a significant impact right away. I think Tank with the draft capital also has a chance to carve out the short yardage role. I like taking him more on a team where I have ETN and I have some Jaguars pieces. They did invest a third round pick in him, which is a huge investment these days for a running back. So I think he could have a role, but I think Roshan is just so just well balanced overall. He's a guy who didn't have a big workload in college for obvious reasons. Like he's playing behind Bijan, so I feel like he's fresh. He's a guy who doesn't have a lot of mileage on his body. He's a great pass protector. He can catch the ball. So Deonta Foreman looked great in Carolina last year. He's obviously an early down back, so it's Roshan versus Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert did have some nice games, but obviously they're not completely sold on him by taking Roshan. So would not shock me if Roshan came in and beat out Khalil Herbert. It's an ugly backfield for sure, but taking the bet on the rookie. I honestly think Kyler Murray at this range is such a great value, and we keep hearing this narrative over and over. Oh, the Cardinals are just going to sit him out, and maybe that is in their best interest. I don't think it is. I don't. I've never seen a team tank and it creates good juju for the next season. You always want to get some momentum rolling into the next year. If he can come in and find his stride, so let's say he even plays, say he misses 10 games and he comes in for the last 7 and they go 6-1. You're going to feel much better about that going into next season than you would just going 1-16 or something like that. And yeah, I mean, you know, maybe you grab Marvin Harrison Jr. in the draft, or you have the option, like you get the first pick and everybody wants Caleb Williams, so you can trade the pick for a huge haul, or even maybe take Williams and trade Murray. But if you're thinking like that as a franchise, I think you have bigger problems. So I was definitely looking at Singletary right there. I like Algier, but that could be a frustrating situation. I don't think he's phased out, but you're looking at a guy who could, let's say Bijan has 12 to 13 carries. Maybe Algier comes in for 4 or 5, and I can see a lot of games where he's, you know, putting up 5 for 30, no catches. So I'm gonna go Murray. I'm gonna go Murray here. He's at the top of the board. I don't normally reach for him. I have been getting him much later. Like I've seen him go into the 170s, 180s, but certainly fine taking him right there. Um, we all know Kirk Cousins is steady. He'll have those big weeks, but a prime time game comes around and prime time Kirk comes out, and that means you're getting a 12, 15, 16 points one week. So I'm good having the combination there. If Murray gives me nothing, okay, fine. I'm actually good stopping at 2 tight ends because I think I spent such high draft capital on Hawkinson. So if I just go Hawkinson, Laporta, I'm fine leaving it at 2. My receivers are incredibly strong at this point. I'm going to grab a couple more, obviously, but feel great about that room right now. Got Jordan Addison, 12 picks after ADP. Got JSN, 6 picks after ADP. My first 3 picks were receivers. So I feel good about that. I'm going to hammer home running back, grab Laporta as my second tight end here on the wraparound if he's there. and then I can really hone in on grabbing running backs and finding a couple values at receiver. A guy I've been grabbing pretty much every other draft at this point is Michael Wilson on Arizona. I think he's a really good player. I think he was underrated. I think he should have gotten maybe third round draft capital instead of fourth. I know there's been some analysts who have really talked him up and really like what he's about, and tremendous opportunity there with Hopkins leaving for him to step in and carve out a role. There's not a ton of competition there when you're talking about, you got to beat out a guy like Greg Dortch. Rondale Moore has proven nothing. Not that they play the same position, but if you're going out there with two receiver set, could he be one of the two? Him and Hollywood Brown. They have two good tight ends, so they could run a lot of two tight end sets with McBride and Ertz. So I think there's an opportunity for him as a guy who's being taken either in the last round or the second to last round. Correlates with Kyler. I think I like that a lot. And I could also go McBride if I do end up deciding to go 3 tight ends. Maybe this will be a 6 wide receiver team as opposed to a typical 7 or 8 that I usually go with. So Laporta's there, right around ADP. Feel good about that. So I have a little breakdown of my team, and I'll go back to the board in a second. Cousins at quarterback correlated with Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson. I have Jared Goff stacked with Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Sam Laporta. Would have loved to get Jamison Williams there. Obviously, St. Brown was not in my range. I guess I could have taken him over AJ Brown, but I didn't know how the board would shake out. So don't have St. Brown, but good chunk of the Detroit offense. And then I have Kyler Murray, who correlates week 17 with my Philly bet. Penny, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith. Hope to grab Gainwell later. So have some bets on the week 17 game between the Cardinals and the Eagles, and a couple nice stacks there with my quarterbacks as well. One wide receiver out of the gate. AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Deebo Samuel. Got JSN and Jordan Addison at value, 2 rookies that I really like. And Hawkinson, Laporta at tight end. So let's go back to the board. This is a unusual team for me. So, grabbing some guys I don't normally grab, particularly like a guy like Rashad Penny. Don't have much Roshan. Don't have much Jahmyr Gibbs. So happy to balance out my portfolio with certain guys that I don't get very often. So what should be the play here when I wrap back around? My next pick. I'll just do a breakdown of the last couple of rounds here too. Let's look at the board. So I went Kyler Murray at 152, Sam Laporta at 161. After I took Laporta, we see Bryce Young, Tyler Algier, Van Jefferson, DJ Chark, Jaden Reed, KJ Osborne, Chase Claypool, Gerald Everett, Ezekiel Elliott, Jalen Hyatt at 171. Interesting to see Bryce Young there go off the board at 162 in the 14th. I saw him yesterday go in the 18th round, and I've also got him in the 18th round a couple of times. I guess it really depends if you're building out that Carolina stack or you're trying to correlate that week 17 game. Let's see who Carolina plays week 17. But seems like a guy who either goes a little ahead of ADP because someone's building out their Carolina stack, or he just drops into the last round because nobody really went all in on the Carolina stack. So I think he's obviously a tremendous value in the last round. They play Jacksonville, which they have a high-powered offense, could be a shootout. But Jacksonville also has an improved defense, so you never know how that could play out. You always got to worry too. Like this Jacksonville, are they a couple games up in the division where week 17 really isn't a priority. Maybe they have the division sewn up already. You don't see it much, but you see it occasionally. That's if they're not fighting for uh, seeding in the AFC, which that is the good thing is that teams most often, even if they are crushing their own division, are still fighting for those two, top three seeds in the AFC playoff race. So after Jalen Hyatt, DPJ, Josh Downs, Devonta Foreman, MVS, I am on the clock. 176 overall. I really need running backs. I'm going to try and grab two here, hoping that Gainwell will swing back around to me. I like Chase Brown. I like Chase Brown a lot. So I'm going to make a bet on the rookie. Joe Mixon, everything's just so up in the air. And Chase Brown is just such a steady force. He was a guy in college who did a little bit of everything. He's a well-rounded type of back. He doesn't do anything spectacular, but he's somebody who could play all three downs for sure. So let's say something else happens with Mixon, which is not out of the realm of possibility. He's a guy who he's like a John Moran type of guy where it's like, oh, some other news comes out and nobody's surprised. He's just a punk. So would not be surprised if he's either released or there's another incident or charges are filed. And we know how the NFL is. They always wait a year. They, as you saw with the Kamara thing, that's still dragging out. They wait till the most of the time they wait till the legal process drags out. So unless there is a conviction of any sort, I don't see them doing anything with Mixon, but his play started to slip as well. And then man. Gainwell goes 179. Should have went Gainwell. Should have went Gainwell and just hope for the best on the way back. But guy could also grab as Ty Chandler with the possibility that maybe he carves out the third down role. I could also grab Chandler and McBride and kind of hope for the best with that backfield. See if one of them can emerge. If Madison really isn't that guy, if he's really not ready to be a 3-down player. We've seen it in spurts when Dalvin was out, but is he capable of that for a 17-game season? I don't know. So those two guys are guys I can grab later. I'm for sure going to need one more receiver. So I like Wandale potentially as an upside play. Still don't know what's going on with Mechie. It's hard to get real reports. Like it says here, he's on track to be ready for training camp, but going through chemo and everything like that could just take a massive toll on your body. I don't know if he'll be completely ready to go. He also had the knee injury, and it is far removed from the knee injury, but did he have the same type of rehab that he would normally have if he was fully healthy and wasn't dealing with the leukemia? So hmm. My plan is to grab Michael Wilson later to round out the receiver room. I'm hoping I can get him near his ADP at 213. So only two picks left. I'm probably most likely going to stick with the two tight ends. I could grab McBride and then grab Michael Wilson, but I can't remember the last time I did a 5 wide receiver build. I just don't feel comfortable with that. So I mean, if I didn't go Wilson, if I went with Trey McBride and then grabbed another running back, either Chandler or Wilson, Chandler or McBride, and grabbed McBride or Ertz to correlate with the Cardinals ego stack. If I did that and just left it at 5 receivers, I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't know if I've ever built out a 5 wide receiver team. So more likely than not, I'm going to go Wilson if he's there, grab my 6th receiver, and then I can make a decision at the end. Do I go with another running back or grab the 3rd tight end? I don't always like going 3 tight ends, 3 quarterbacks, but and that begs the question: was the Kyler pick maybe a mistake? I don't know. I could have stayed at 2 certainly. I feel good about both of those guys. They're steady, but I think Kyler gives you rushing upside that neither of them do. So let's take a look at the board. Next pick coming up is at 200 overall. The last pick I went Jeff Wilson just to round out that running back room. He was past ADP. Miami running back, committee is certainly messy. So just taking a dart throw on him and hoping that maybe Dalvin Cook doesn't go there. He had a nice season last year. Mostert's older, so if it comes down to just him and Devin Achane, I actually feel pretty good about Jeff Wilson in this range. I'm at pick 200, but I just know how it is with these snipes. So I might just grab Michael Wilson here. I'm good at tight end. Then I can make a decision. Do I want to go Ty Chandler, Dwayne McBride, or do I go with maybe Trey McBride, who's at the top of the list now, so I can see him getting snagged. But yeah, I'll grab Wilson. So right now I have a 3-6-2, 3 quarterbacks, 6 running backs, 6 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, and gonna have to make a decision here. I could see Chandler getting picked since his ADP is 203. McBride was a beast in college, but he's more of just a 2 down guy, whereas Ty Chandler is a 3rd down back. But it seems, I mean, obviously new coaching staff, but it seems like the Vikings have always gone with like a workhorse type of guy since they've had Dalvin. So how are those other carries split up? It's anybody's guess. Let's see what the draft capital was for Ty Chandler. So he was a 5th round pick. And McBride was a 7th round pick. Doesn't always tell the story, doesn't always, the draft capital doesn't always matter. And Chandler goes there, which is fine with me. I mean, for a team where I really waited on running back, I went with Gibbs as sort of that anchor in the 4th round. I actually feel fine about this running back room. I like Chase Brown a lot. Got Jeff Wilson after ADP. I think Roschon has a chance to really emerge in the second half. So really relying a lot on Gibbs and Montgomery, which I don't mind, just with the offensive line they're playing behind. So trying to think what's the best way to build out this team. Is it with a 3rd tight end? Do I take the risk? Not the risk, but do I try and grab some upside here with one of these late round running backs and to hope that one of them could maybe emerge? Do I take a veteran? Do I go with a he just went right there, but a 4 net. Clyde Edwards-Helaire has had some good reports out of camp. Like, I think McBride could just be a complete zero. And you never want to take some. You always want, even if they spiked into my lineup once for 1 week, it would be worth it. So, yeah, McBride had some nice. He had some nice grades at the combine. So I'm gonna go McBride. I don't have much McBride, so go with a little bit of an unusual 3-7, 6-2. Take a quick peek back at the board. See how this last round finishes out. You see Pierre Strong go there. I'm going to start taking more and more Pierre Strong. I absolutely love him. I'm trying to get some more Ramondre Stevenson as well. This is my, what number draft? I know I said it at the beginning, but I forget. So this is my 63rd BBM4. So I got about 37 left roughly. I'm going to try and get around 100. And I'm going to start hammering home a lot of Patriots because I don't have much of Ramondre. I don't have much Juju. And I think they're going to be a much improved offense. A lot of them have values at where you're getting them. So love Pierre Strong. I think he beats out James Robinson for that number 2 role. We know with the Patriots, the way they like to run the ball. Would not be surprised one bit if Pierre Strong has a couple good spike weeks throughout the season. So see Zach Ertz goes at 213, Marvin Jones. And Mike White. That's interesting. Making the bet on Tua getting hurt. So one of the stranger builds I've done. I think what I'll debate with myself is, should I have maybe gone with a third tight end to match up with Kyler, getting Trey McBride instead of a guy like Dwayne McBride? If he doesn't see the field, that's kind of a waste of a pick. I know McBride's going to be out there, and that's what you have to factor in. Like, Ertz is an older guy. Does he make it back healthy? And if not, you're talking about a starting tight end as opposed to a running back that may give you nothing. So always tough to weigh that. In hindsight, I don't know. Laporta's a rookie. If he gives you nothing, then you're really relying so much on TJ Hawkinson, who has gotten banged up over the course of his career. So in hindsight, would have given myself a little bit more of a stacking option there with Arizona, with McBride, as opposed to Dwayne McBride, Trey McBride over Dwayne McBride. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. You never know. Maybe, Alexander Madison goes down and all of a sudden Dwayne McBride's an RB1. So come back to that at a later date. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am going to continue to try and churn out these BBM4 drafts as much as I can. I'm going to record and post these. So if you guys can do me a favor, give me a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Just leave me a comment. Let me know what I could do better. Any feedback you have, let me know if you enjoy the videos. Anything is appreciated. So thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and I will see you soon. DGen Nation out.